What's up guys, Axel back with another video today, and today we're going to be making a Yu-Gi-Oh tier list, and we're making a Yu-Gi-Oh tier list on the most used cards in the game, which are called Yu-Gi-Oh staples. Now I have a collection of Yu-Gi-Oh staples. You probably recognize most of these cards because these are the most played Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game, and you might be wondering, why am I wearing a captain hat? Well, that's because I'm uploading this on Halloween, and if you're not watching this on Halloween day, belated Halloween happy birthday. Why did I say happy birthday? I don't know. Happy Halloween. But this is why I'm wearing this hat. I'm not recording this Halloween, but you know, I gotta dress up for the occasion. So today I am a captain. But we're gonna be ranking these Yu-Gi-Oh staples, and these are the most used cards. Obviously, Maxi has a 99% usage rate. So if you don't use this card, this Maxi, you probably are in that 0.1% of this card. You're part of that 0.1% of people who don't use this card. But besides that, let's get to the tiers. I've organized these tiers into ban, broken, annoying, balanced, and fair. Pretty obvious. The fair, that means like they're fair, like they shouldn't give you much of a problem, and if they pull them off, like it's fair, like it's okay. The ban tier is cards that should be banned and are ban worthy cards, and I will be talking about the ban worthy cards when I get to them. But obviously the first staple we're going to be talking about is Ash Blossom, which I think is the most balanced card in the game. I don't think anyone really has a complaint about Ash Blossom. I'm putting Ash Blossom at balance. That's going to be our pretty much our baseline, and if it's like more broken than Ash Blossom, we're putting annoying, and if it's like more like fair than Ash Blossom, we're going to put it in fair. So Ash Blossom is our baseline, and we're going to be working around this. Now, Called by the Grave, I think it's either fair or broken. Now, you're either one of the two. People hate this card, or people think it's a fair card. People think it should either be banned, or they think it should be at 3. I personally think I think it's a pretty fair card. I don't have really any problem with this. We need this to counter Maxi, and sometimes we need this to catch Ash Blossom. So I feel like this is a pretty fair card. I know people have controversial opinions on it. Leave down in the comments what you think of this card, and leave down in the comments what you think of all of these cards in general, because obviously this is my opinion. I know people are gonna have mixed opinions on a lot of these cards, and I really want to know your thoughts in the comments down below, because some people really don't like Ash Blossom, and some people think Maxi should be banned, and I'm personally going to give my opinion, then you can either disagree with me or agree with me, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I will try to respond to most of them, because, you know, I love responding to comments, and I'm pretty sure I'll respond to your comment on what you think of some of these staples. Mirror Force, it's fair. Like, most meta decks don't run this anime card in general, like, but, you know, most people run it in Runic or, like, stall decks. It's a fair card. If you can pull this off, like, you're having an anime-ass moment, but I don't really have any complaints about Mirror Force. Next up is Dark Ruler No More. Some people hate it, but personally, one of my favorite cards in the game. I think it's, one, it has a really cool animation, and two, it helps you with not meta decks where you just need to counter their entire board, and this is pretty much a free counter. I'll put it annoying because it is kind of annoying if you use this against you, but my personal favorite, one of my favorite cards in the game. I can't tell you why, I just like it so much. Next up is Red Reboot. Now, Red Reboot is actually banned in like the actual physical card game, so most people would say it should be banned, but personally I don't think it's really that broken when it comes to Master Duel, because the reason why Red Reboot is banned is because like you can just side deck into it, and like if you know your opponent's playing a heavy trap deck, you could obviously just use this card. But since it's Master Duel and you never know what your opponent is playing unless like you're playing against friends, I say this card is pretty balanced, because if your opponent's not playing traps, this is pretty much just a brick and you're probably never using it. So unless you're not going against Labyrinth, this is most of the time just a brick. Evenly Matched, I would say it's broken. It's literally one of the best board breakers in the game. I hate it so much, but some people find it fair. I personally just, anytime someone evenly matching me, I'm raging already. So in my opinion, it's broken, but some people think it's fair. Next up is most of the pot cards. I just put like a Pot of Extravagance just for in general, but most pot cards are pretty fair. Obviously just drawing 2 is so broken nowadays, but pot cards, I would say it's fair. Next up is a pretty much recent card. This card shot into one of the most used cards in the game. I can't really read it right now, but it's called like Herald of the Abyss. I think this is a broken card right now. This card is only like broken when some of the best cards are just running the same type of attributes and types. So this card is usually reserved for some broken decks, and there's a lot of broken decks in the game right now, like Kashtira, Dragon Link, Branded. There's a lot of great decks in the game right now, so this card has shot up as to one of the most used cards in the game just like overnight, just this month. Like last month it was not used that much, but this month it's been used a lot. I put this into most of my deck. This card is so great, so if you don't have this in a deck, I highly suggest you use this card. One of the best cards in the game. I could see it even being limited in the future because of how good this card is, but for right now, I say it's broken because it can just wipe your opponent's board and may boss monster if they're just running one major boss monster. And if they're running multiple boss monsters and the same attribute, this card can really do a lot. Next up is Super Poly. Now, some people hate Super Poly, but I like it. I would say it's annoying. I wouldn't say it's broken. I feel like it's annoying. I feel like it's a great, perfect place to put it. It's annoying, but I would say most of the time it's a pretty fair card. Next up is Nibiru. I find Nibiru probably in the balancing. I think because most people already kind of know you play Nibiru, and Nibiru is one of the most used cards. Most people have a response to it, so I would put it in balance. Now, time to bring up to the most major one that most people think should be banned, Dimension Shifter. And I also think it should be banned. Dimension Shifter, such a broken card in the game. It's limited to 2, which I think it should just be banned. You can literally put this into any deck and it destroys like 70% decks that you play against. If they draw into a Dimension Shifter or they have this in the opening hand, this could win you the duel. This is one of the most broken cards in the game. I'm not breaking new ground here. A lot of people don't like this card. If you just go on Yu-Gi-Oh Reddit, a lot of people are saying this card should be banned, and I kind of agree with them. Before they had a Rise Heart, all the cashier cards were playing this, so this is pretty much a Rise Heart in a hand trap, and I think this card should be banned. But you know, maybe you might disagree. Let me know down in the comments down below what you think of Dimension Shifter. I know a lot of people don't play it, but like, if they do, this card is pretty broken. Next up is Access Code Talker. Now, Access Code Talker, it's a monster, so you know, most of these staples are kind of like just hand traps or spells cards or trap cards, but I have a couple monsters that you can see at the bottom, and Access Code Talker is also one of the most used cards in the game. I would say it's kind of annoying because if you have a card that all you need to do is just destroy it with a high attacking monster, Access Code Talker is always an easy monster to go into. It's kind of like a general boss monster. Like, you can always summon this and beat over anything, because this card, you can make this have so much strength, so it can destroy pretty much all cards that have high attack. And a lot of boss monsters, for example, like DD Kaiser King for the DD archetype, most of the times the only way to defeat the boss monster is just pretty much just have higher attack and just attack over it. But a lot of cards don't have higher than 3,000, or maybe you're going against a DD Duel King Dawn who has 3,500, and the only way to beat it is just having more attack. Access Code Talker is one of the few that can have higher than 3,500, and Access Code Talker can OTK your opponents in sometimes. So Access Code Talker, I know a lot of people find it annoying, and some people say it's broken. I just find it annoying, and I think that's kind of a perfect place to put it. Next up is Triple Tactics Talent, and also a pretty much staple in every deck. I think it's gone a little bit down since we have a new Triple Tactics Talent that I'll talk about later. But this card, I'd say it's fair. I think it's not as good as it used to be, mainly because like your opponent needs to activate a hand trap, and that's usually the most way how people play it when you're drawing first, because most people just use it to draw 2 cards, and sometimes they take control of one of your opponent's monster, but most of the time it is just for the draw 2. So I would say it's fair. I don't really find it annoying. I think it's just a pretty fair card. If you can activate it, you can activate it. It's just an extender, or it's to help you win a game, but in general, I find it fair. Now let's talk about the most controversial card, Maxi. People think it should be banned. Some people think it's fair. Some people think it's one of their favorite cards in the game. I find it annoying. Annoying is a perfect place to put it. It's right in the middle between fair and banned, because some people really hate this card. I'm not one of them, but I do find it annoying, because if they activate Maxi and you don't have an Ash Blossom, you don't have a card by a grave, just GG's, just end your turn, or try to play through it, and even though you play through it, you're probably gonna get Nibiru'd at the end of the turn. So Maxi is annoying, but since the game's kind of built around Maxi, it's kind of just, in a sense, fair, but it's still annoying. I think we can all agree how annoying Maxi is. It's literally broken. There's a reason why it's banned in the official TCG. Next up is Zeus. Zeus, limited to 1, so if you defeat 1 Zeus, you don't have to deal with him for the rest of the game unless they have a Monster Reborn or they have some way to put him back into their extra deck. But Zeus is a card some people think will eventually be banned because of how broken it is. I've kind of come to the realization, I would put it in my heart, if in my personal opinion, I think it's balanced, but it can be annoying, and I'll put it in the annoying tier because it's kind of in the same realm of Access Code Talker, where in the right situation, this can feel like the most broken card in the game, and some people believe it should be banned, but I think having it limited to 1, I think it's pretty good. Most people have a counter to Zeus in a sense, and I don't think Zeus is like as broken as it's still pretty broken. I'm not gonna say it's not as broken as it used to be. It's will always forever be a broken card because Zodiacs can use it, and if you have any Xyz card, you can use this card. Zeus is so universal where you can put it into any deck, and it's an easy board breaker and wipes the entire board. So Zeus is one of the most universally good cards in the game, but I think that's what kind of makes it sort of balanced, is that since everyone has access to Zeus, no one's really special. It's kind of like that meme from Incredibles, since we're all super, no one's super. That's how I kind of think of someone like Zeus and Access Code Talker. And it sounds kind of like Baron de Fleur. I feel like all these like generic boss monsters are pretty fair since we have all access to them. But that's where I put Zeus. I know a lot of people can disagree. Let me know down in the comments if you think Zeus should be banned, or maybe you guys think Zeus is pretty fair. Next up is Book of Eclipse, which is also a card that got like pretty big recently because of the Duelist Club, and this month has been a lot of cards where they just summoned so many cards in one turn. Example, a Kashira. I would always talk about Kashira because it's just so overwhelming nowadays. Book of Eclipse, I would put it in balance. I think it's pretty fair. Obviously, you got to flip down all of your opponent's cards, but that also completes your cards, and they got to draw as many cards as you flip down. So I would say it's a pretty fair card. When it first started getting used a lot this month, I was like, okay, this card is kind of annoying, but once you kind of know what it doesn't feel overwhelming as it used to be. Next up is Underworld Goddess. Now, I know a lot of people feel very strongly about this card, about how they think it's unfair, or like it's kind of a, in a sense, like they find it unfair because it's like all you need to do is get 5 monsters and you can take over one of the monsters, and it's kind of a bit of a board breaker, but I think this is as fair as it gets when it comes to boss monsters. I find this pretty fair. 5 link materials and you could take one of your opponents as a link material. I find it fair. Out of all like the generic boss monsters when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, I feel like Underworld Goddess is the most fair. Now, maybe I'm saying a very controversial opinion. I don't know, because I don't hear too many people talk about Underworld Goddess as they do as Access Code Talker or Zeus. But I feel like Underworld Goddess is one of the most fair boss monsters in the game. Universal, obviously you need a lot of materials to even bring this card out, but I find it pretty fair in my opinion. Next up is Book of Moon. I also think this is fair. Like, if you activate Book of Moon, I'm not gonna be mad. Like, there's so many, like, there's not too many decks that run Book of Moon, so when I see it, it's kind of like a pleasant surprise. I smile like, oh, someone's actually using Book of Moon. It's still a very strong card, but I'm never too annoyed when I see it. Next out is Crossout. I think I find it a little annoying. The reason I find Crossout a little annoying is because you don't know how many times I've seen someone open this in their opening hand and like they just cross out a Maxi, they just cross out a Nibiru, they just cross out an Ash Blossom. There's so many times where someone opens in Crossout, and I don't know, it's because of their luck, but I feel like Crossout is in so many people's opening hands that I'm gonna put it annoying. I know it's a pretty fair card in the game, fair in a sense because it is limited to 1, but it's still pretty annoying. Next up is pretty much the generic boss monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! Baron de Fleur. Now, I would put Baron de Fleur, I kind of feel like broken. I feel like out of all the boss monsters, I think it is the most OP. Like, when I think of Zeus, I'm more intimidated by Baron de Fleur because it's so universal. Like, you just need a tuner and like a non-tuner into a level 10 Secret. I feel like when they have a Baron de Fleur out, I'm more intimidated than I am by Zeus. But that could just be me. But I do think it's pretty broken. I just think it's because of how universal it is. I think it is a pretty broken card in the game. You can fight me on that, but I feel like Baron de Fleur is broken. I'll lower it down. I'll put it in the same realm as Zeus and what's called Access Code Talker, but I'll put it in annoying. But in my opinion, probably the strongest boss monster out of all the generic boss monsters in the game. But letting you know, this isn't ranked. So just because I have Dark Ruler No More higher than Baron de Fleur, that doesn't mean I believe Dark Ruler No More is stronger than Baron de Fleur. I'm just putting that in general. I don't really want to rank this. I'm just putting it in the tiers. So don't judge me. Next up is Harpy's Feather Duster. I feel like it is pretty balanced, but same thing like with Crossout. Like, so many people open up with it, which is kind of crazy. Like, a lot of one-of cards, like Grass Look Screener, Crossout, Harpy's Feather Duster. I don't know. There's a lot more one-of cards where like you can only have one of your deck, and for some reason so many people open with these cards, which is kind of crazy. But either way, Harpy's Feather Duster is pretty balanced. Obviously, you can say it's fair, but there is a reason why it's limited to 1. Next up is Imperm. I used to think Imperm was OP. That's what I would say, but I think it's pretty fair nowadays. Obviously, the Imperm column is such a thing you have to worry about, but most of the time, if you're playing Imperm, I think it's pretty fair. Like, I think Imperm in general is pretty fair. I don't really have anything to say about it. I'm never really annoyed by Imperm. I think it's a pretty fair card. Next up, since we talked about Kashira here and there throughout this video, I of course have Kashira Fenrir, which is obviously one of the most used cards, not in just Cashier, but in many other decks. You could put Cashier Fenrir in a lot of decks and it kind of just works. And obviously, if I was talking about most used cards in the game, I'd have a lot of Cashier cards up here, but I just put Cashier Fenrir because it is the most universal used card in the game, and in my opinion, should be banned. When you talk about Cashier Rysart being their boss monster, I believe personally Cashier Fenrir is the best card in the whole Cashier deck, and I think a lot of people will agree with that. It's banned in the TCG. It's banned. I don't think it's banned in the OCG. Is it banned in the OCG and it's not banned in the TCG? Either way, this card is banned in one of the versions of one of the physical copies of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I also think it should be banned in Master Duel, and I think it's a matter of time before they ban this. They're either going to ban Rysart or they're going to ban Fenrir. One of the two. I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're banning one of them. That's what I know so far, because the TCG banned Rysart, they banned a lot of other, they banned Unlimited a lot of cards, and I think Fenrir is on its way to be banned because it is just such a broken card, and it literally should be banned. In my personal opinion, it should be banned. Maybe you have a different opinion. Let me know down in the comments down below. Maybe you think Cashier or Rysart is the best card in the game. I think Fenrir is the best card in the Cashier deck. Next up is Lightning Storm. I think Lightning Storm is a pretty balanced card. When it comes to board breakers, I think Lightning Storm is a pretty balanced card as it can get. Next up is the new Triple Tactics talent, which came out a month ago, a couple weeks ago. I totally forgot when this card came out, but since I've been playing this a lot, I have 3 of these cards in a lot of my deck. This card is broken. This, you can search out any trap, you can search out any spell in your deck, which I think is too good of a card not to use. I think if you're running a deck and it really depends on a single trap or single spell, this card is really good. In my opinion, I could see this being limited in the future because this card is really good, and I don't think it's ever going to be not good. You get to search out any spell or any trap, and you can set any trap, and you can activate any spell. When you get it, just add it to your hand. This card is too good not to be limited in the future. I could totally see this being not banned, but definitely limited to 1 in the future. Honestly, this card is really good. If you don't use this card in your deck, I highly suggest try this in your deck. I feel like it helps you with a lot of consistency issues. This card is really good, and I really suggest this in any of your guys' deck. Use this, because trust me, this is a really good card. Next up is Kaijus. Now, I didn't really want to put like Raiden or what's called Nessie. I just put like Kaijus in general. I would say they're annoying because they are board breaker. Obviously, you can consider like Lava Golem in here too, but like I didn't really want to put like Lava Golem, Sphere Mode. What else cards are there? I'm thinking of other cards, but Kaijus in general, like the Kaiju archetype and like a Lava Golem kind of do the same thing. I would consider them annoying. Like you're either giving up your tribute or you're giving them a card. Consider Kaiju annoying, but honestly, some people think it's fair, some people think it's broken. I'll put it annoying. But that's my tier list. I would love to know what your guys' tier list. I'll probably put this in the link in the description so you guys can make your own tier list, and you can go into my Discord and you guys can send me a screenshot of what your tier list looks like, because I kind of personally want to see all of your guys' tier list. So link in the description, you can send me in the Discord and I'll respond to all of you guys, because I definitely want to see your guys' thoughts on like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Stable tier list. So I'll put this in the link in the description. And last thing, make sure to like and subscribe, because 99% of you guys who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later, hater. Peace.